Welcome back to another episode of Talk Dead to Me, the only Walking Dead podcast with the guts to start at season 10. I am your host, Johnny Odell, social media manager for The Walking Dead. I realize I kind of been talking in a 1.5 times speed because that's how I listen to podcasts. And honestly, I wish this year was going on 1.5 times speed because I am over it. Hot take, this year is no good. My guest this week is Jenna Elfman. She is from Fear the Walking Dead. A lot of you know her from Dharma and Gregg, Accidentally on Purpose, Keeping the Faith, so many amazing projects. We talked about her career, and we got into some Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 stuff. Let's get right to the interview with Jenna Elfman. What's your recent quarantine life been like?
It ebbs and flows. It's funny because with everyone kind of all in the same space, you kind of cycle a little bit on, the trend of the family at the time or what interests everybody at the time. And then we get bored kind of with the novelty of that. And then you have to create something new. I think at first it was a lot of time by the pool, which we're still doing. But there's homeschool and, we went through a heavy homeschool learning curve, and then it was summer and giving them time to withdraw from that and just play. And, but the bummer is not seeing their friends. It's like a super bummer, except two boys. And, now we're kind of heading back into some kind of homeschool, which is like pulling teeth after not doing it, but they're doing it. And then just trying to gear up and ramp up for what filming is going to be like and the new living situation, the new family unit, while I'm doing that, which is going to be very different than what it was before and how I was operating. So that's been keeping us really busy trying to make those plans.
What does filming look like in the near future?
Going back to work? Yeah. I think there's, we're going to have, there's the unions have been a big part of establishing a lot of this. And then AMC, also has their own, they hired a world-renowned epidemiologist to consult and advise on all the new protocols. And there's many forms and white pages. And so I think it's going to be, I think they're going to do it like by zones. So the people in front of the camera are labeled a certain zone. The people immediately on camera, the focus pullers, the camera operators, the grips are another zone. The director of photography, and then you get into, and the prop masters, and, so every sphere of participation on this crew is going to have a colored zone, so that if for some reason someone gets infected within that zone, you can kind of keep the zones separate. And then a lot of testing. I think we're going to be tested multiple times a week. And it's going to look and then when we're not in front of the camera, everyone is distanced and masked and all of that. So it's going to be very different. It's going to be, I don't care. I just want to go back to work. Like I'll do anything to get back to the storytelling and to keep creating. I think it's so important during these challenging times that the artists create, but it's also important that people are safe. And so I think AMC's doing everything in their power to combine those two things so that we can keep the stories going and keep the fans entertained and engaged and giving them, what we all love, and but do it in a safe way. But no one likes to be out of work. No one likes to be not busy doing what they love.
I've listened to your podcast, which I think has 93 episodes now, Kicking and Screaming, where you and your husband Bodhi talk about, your marriage and, what it's like just, going through it. And what is it? Are you guys almost 30 years now, right?
Yes. 30. Yes. Almost 30 years together.
Oh my
God. And it's, great still.
Yeah.
And it goes through bumps, but it's great. And it's never any bumps we haven't already been through some version of it. We don't have a dialogue or a language for how to get through. We talk about all of that. And, he's so engaged right now on helping me organize how the family's going to be with filming. And we're so busy right now, prepping to organize for that. He's just kicking butt, and I'm so appreciative of how much responsibility he's taking to help, facilitate how awesome it's going to be.
Right. That's so amazing to hear. I mean, but it also, as amazing as your family seems, you must want to get out and like hang, like just get brunch with like the girls or do like literally anything, right? Like,
Yeah, when I have those cravings, I just will go for a socially distanced masked walk.
yeah.
You know, sometimes I'll head over to Karen David, her place. She plays Grace on Fear the Walking Dead, and we'll have a catch up. Or another friend of mine who now went to Australia. But before that, she'd come over and we'd be very distant in my backyard. And Mika Costa, she's one of my best friends. And like, we would not swim that day so that her kids could just swim in the pool, you know, so we're not swimming on the same day. So her kids would swim and I'd get to catch up with her. Or we went to a park for her birthday and had a distant lunch. So you wedge it in where you can, but you really do find during times like this the value in the little things, you know, and really squeezing out those important moments of human connection when you can get them. And I really see how much I don't take that for granted. You know, I think it's so important.
It's weird to see like other mediums, like now that Dharma and Gregg is actually on Hulu, I'm actually able to like watch it now. And, you know, like meeting on a train and like, you know, all the sort of New York things where everyone's like really packed together. It's just like, it seems, it's weird how like that seems crazy to me now, you know, where I'm just like, but
it does seem crazy. I know when you see like the Throwback Thursdays or Flashback Fridays and it's like a group of people, you know, from like,
and you're like, no,
I was like, oh my God, you guys, your faces are so, flashback. Oh, okay, cool. It like gives me anxiety to see people with their faces so close without a mask.
Oh my God, same.
But yeah, I know when we're just, you know, I love working and I want to get back to work. So I'm just trying to do everything I can the right way.
Did you finish the first 8 for season 6?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay. So are they just going to air like 6 or 7 of them and then?
I have no idea.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean,
I think that we're going to try and get it done. Yes, we are. You know, if we can get back to work in time, we will probably be able to get that all done in time. Yeah. So it should be okay, provided everything goes according to plan. And we can go, they have, you know, they're floating around a date for us to go back, but nothing's confirmed just yet. So we should know within the next handful of days, hopefully. So that people can plan. Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. So let's go all the way back to your background for, I know you've talked about it a million times, but for any listeners who didn't know, grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised, and you actually started out in dance where it was a pretty like strict schedule from what I've heard.
Yeah. Excuse me. I started when I was 5 in ballet and, you know, you just did it because you're a kid and your mom puts you in ballet class.
Yeah.
And I did it with my cousins. So that was fun. And then we found a cool jazz teacher who, I don't know, she really brought dance home to me as a form of communication. And I really got that communication and entertainment, like art, the communication of art, but also with entertainment on it. She kind of brought the two, because sometimes it's like, ooh, art, and it's like not entertainment, or entertainment has no art. And she kind of brought the idea that the two can be together, and performance and communication. And I really got interested. And her name was Kathy Downey, and I think she still teaches up north. And she was my jazz teacher. And then my mom found a really good ballet studio called Westside Ballet in Santa Monica. And I had great teachers there. One was worked with Balanchine. She had pieces choreographed on her by Mr. Balanchine. And then the other teacher, and City Ballet, New York City Ballet, Balanchine style is like it's almost the classical version of Bob Fosse. It's got a really cool aesthetic and a very specific motion to it. And then my other teacher was from the Royal Ballet in England, which was very technique driven, very straight up. So I got technique and style within those two teachers at Westside. And I got full scholarship to Pacific Northwest Ballet, which is where at the time, I don't know if it is now, all the New York City Ballet girls would go there for the summer programs because it was Balanchine style as well in Seattle. and I loved it. And I spent like 30 hours a week minimum training in ballet for years and years and years and years and years. So I mastered a fine art at a young age, which was incredible self-discipline. Yeah. And I bring that with me, just that self-discipline and the ability to keep yourself focused on a task, understand what the importances are. You know, there's not, I don't know. And my parents have a really good work ethic and set a good example to me. And I just bring that everywhere I go, because I just want to be really good at what I do. I want to always be growing. I want to be fun to work with. And I enjoy being professional. I don't enjoy when people aren't professional. I don't enjoy ego. I don't enjoy selfish, whiny, complainy types. I feel like at any given time, if you're employed, be grateful and work your ass off to be the best you can be. Mm-hmm. And anything other than that is, in my book, unacceptable, and I don't enjoy it. So I try to set a good example the best I can. Everyone has bad days, but I think that work ethic really from dance, because if you don't work hard, you're not going to get better. And in dance, you're standing in front of that mirror all day long. So it's a constant reminder of if you're applying yourself or if you're not applying yourself, and the progress, thereof.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like a constant self-analysis where you're probably like, because of dance, really in tune with your body and mind because of that. And also it's interesting theory that you are, you don't want any like ego or selfishness or anything. Some people might find that funny just because it's like Hollywood, but I mean, I think you probably need that kind of, thought process to like get through things.
Yeah, I think there's, being aware of yourself and aware of your journey and the ability to be your own quality control, because you kind of do your work, but then you have to process it and look at it and go, did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? Where did I slip? Why? How can I improve that for next time so that you keep growing? I mean, there's a certain amount of ego in the sense of awareness of self, because you are your own instrument as an actor. You're looking in your own life experiences. You're looking at people, applying it to yourself, the thoughts of the character. It's a lot of self, the activity in the playing field is kind of a lot here. And I think that's why we seem self-consumed in that way. I think when we're working on our craft, we are. But that's because if I was a violinist, I would be all in my violin. Yeah. But I'm playing a person, so I'm in my mind. But in terms of ego, meaning, ridiculous narcissism and selfishness, I guess we're all guilty of it to a degree. But I think being cool and being great to work with and cooperative and on time and prepared is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were into dance and then you got into acting. You went to, was it the Beverly Hills Playhouse, I believe?
Yeah.
Oh, was that something that you decided where you were just like, I kind of want to transition into doing this a little bit more, or how did that play out?
I was, so as a dancer, I was dancing, with ballet, doing ballet things. And then I just had this injury that if I were to continue in ballet or go into a professional company, I would actually probably be sitting out injured more than I'd be dancing. And that didn't seem like a fun career. Yeah. The career of injury. Right. So I transferred more to dancing and TV and film because there wasn't so much actual formal ballet point work where you go on your toes. It was more jazz and contemporary and stuff, which I could handle with the type of injury I had, which was an ankle thing. Oh, and so that's where I got a dance agent. I'd been doing extra work in television. And so I just got a dance agent and started dancing in TV and film. So I danced on Murder, She Wrote and music videos, and then on the Academy Awards. Yeah, Depeche Mode. Had a lot of fun experiences. And then
was that the one
danced. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Was that the one where you had to like actually not dance well? In the
Depeche Mode, yes. Yeah. Yes. That was torture for me.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh God, they're going to think I don't know what I'm doing. I've trained my whole life not to look like this. Okay. Here we go. But yeah, that was fun though. Yeah. So then I got a job dancing on the Academy Awards in LA, and oh my God. I didn't have plans to go to New York as a dancer. And that was kind of the best gig you could get in LA at that time. And I was like, frankly, I wanted to make an impact on the world. I want to make an impact on a large number of people. And I didn't feel that for my goals, I could accomplish that being, you know, one dancer amongst 30, looking this big on the screen with no name credit. And I just went, I want to move on to the next sort of evolution.
Right.
And so I went, I think I'm going to start acting now. I think I always knew I wanted to maybe kind of do that, but dance was just the natural progression. And so I had just met my Bodie at that time on a commercial audition that we both got the job, and we're hanging out together. And he says, well, I study. I think I want to study. I need to study. And he said, well, I studied at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. I was like, okay, I'll go there. So I studied there and then worked hard, and it was almost impossible, but I finally got a theatrical agent. Worked very hard. I mean, nothing has ever been handed to me, ever, zero, nothing.
Right.
Except for once I did work hard and became accomplished, I'd have jobs offered to me. But even transitioning between jobs professionally, it takes a lot of navigation. You know, it's like you get new problems, new good problems, but yeah, nothing has ever come, frankly, terribly easy.
Right. So how, your parents, what were they saying like during this whole process? Like when you were kind of, you know, becoming, you know, transitioning more into acting, which I'm sure comes with, you know, a lot of like, will this work out? Will it not work out? Like, were they very supportive? Yeah.
So the cool thing is, my mom always said, I'll support you in anything you do as long as it's legal.
Yeah.
So I really, and she did, and she drove me from, you know, I grew up in the Valley in Northridge. Okay. She drove me on that 405 freeway to Santa Monica 6 times a week. Peak traffic. Like, she showed her support and did it and invested in my training, dance training, and supported me as an artist and the shows and the everything. Worked extra jobs to pay for my toe shoes, etc. My dad held the fort with his job, and they were always just loving and supportive and kind and lovely people. People who've met my parents are like, oh, they're so nice. I love talking. They'll just talk to anybody. They'll chat, and they're so friendly people. They're just friendly and lovely. And so they were always very supportive. The only time I ran into a bump was for a second when I started going to college. I was in my second semester at Cal State Northridge, and that's when I got the Academy Awards job. And I was rehearsing like 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I couldn't attend my classes. So I just stopped going. I just kind of dropped out because I was doing what I loved. I was doing what I wanted to do for my career. I was getting paid for it. And at the time I was like, I couldn't find my purpose to keep going. I was in the theater department, but I don't know. I just didn't feel very connected. And I started studying acting after the Academy Awards. And so I felt like I was doing my training, and I got my straight A's in history at the time. And my dad was not happy for a moment because he felt like you need that education as a backup. And I said, I know, Dad, but I'm getting paid to do what I love, and I'm going to have a great career. It's going to be okay. And I think he just had a moment of like, because he cared. Yeah. But then I was very certain of myself, and it all worked out. So it was like, you know, didn't give me a hard time. He just had to express his concern for a moment.
Right. If you're either of your sons went into, you know, the industry or anything like that, I'm guessing you would probably be like extra supportive, probably, right?
I'm supportive. I think it's important that each person has the right to live their life. Each person has their own goals and their own dreams that have nothing to do with their parents. Yeah. And I don't feel that it's the parents' job to dictate the goals of their children or inhibit the goals of their children. I think that our job as parents is to facilitate the education, set a good example of personal ethics, teach them a moral code and a good value system so that they can feel safe and secure and confident in this crazy world, and know that they have the right to a place in the world, and then help them achieve their goals, not say, no, that's a crazy industry, you can't do that. Yeah. It's like, well, I wouldn't want it. It's like the golden rule. I wouldn't want my parents to have stopped me from being able to entertain millions and millions of people and maybe raise their mood a little bit or make their day better. That's a goal of mine. And this is the way I do it. So I'll do for my children, what my parents did for me, which is I support them in anything they want to do as long as it's legal.
Yeah, exactly. No Pretty Woman scenarios here. That's great. So the Sprite commercial, was that 91?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 6 years later, you get Dharma and Gregg. How does that come about?
So I finally got a theatrical agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I immediately started working. I just needed someone to send me on auditions. So I started doing guest star roles. I did a guest star in NYPD Blue. I did a guest star on Almost Perfect, and just, these little guest star roles. I got an agent in the summer of 95. So I did these little guest star roles throughout the fall. And then pilot season came, 1996. I went to network on one of them. I didn't get the job, but it was still pilot season. I went to network on another one called Townies, and I got the job as a series regular with Lauren Graham, Molly Ringwald, Ron Livingston, Billy Burr. And so I had a series regular role on that and kind of got noticed from my work on that. And on the last day of filming that show, we only did one season. We got canceled with 15 million viewers.
Oh my God. That would be,
can you imagine?
That's like Super Bowl numbers now. I mean,
I know. Dharma and Gregg would have like 18 million viewers.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So anyway, on the last day of filming, 20th Century Fox said, oh, we want to meet her. And so I went over and had a general meeting. And then from 20th Century Fox drove to Radford, the studio where we were filming. And by the time I got there, I got a call being offered this very lucrative development deal.
Yeah.
And I took it. And so from that development deal came Dharma and Gregg. I met with some writers. They couldn't do it then. Maybe next season. I was like, no, I have momentum. Next on the list. Because Fox said, here's a list of writers we have deals with. Pick who you want to create a show for you. Yeah. I was like, okay. So then I went to the next one on the list, had a meeting, and they had an amazing pitch that was Dharma and Gregg. And I was like, I saw the whole thing when they pitched it to me. It was at Jerry's Deli on Ventura Boulevard. And I just went, I totally get it. It's perfect. I didn't go home and talk to my husband or my agents. I just shook on it right then and said, let's do it. I saw the whole thing, the success, everything. It was like crazy.
Wow.
And so then they set about to get it written. And we did the pilot, and that's how that came about. That was created for me. It's amazing.
Yeah. What about it were you just like, this is going to be successful? Because there's so many shows that, barely take off.
I never considered it wouldn't be successful, number one.
Great.
I never looked at ratings. I didn't care. The mechanics of having a successful TV show, I did not put my attention on in terms of the mechanical aspects, like what other shows are being created right now? What shows are networks into? No, I think I did my work before I got that first series. I think that's where the seeds were planted in terms of planning and manifesting your life. I did at that time sit down, and I did want to do comedy. I didn't really know that I had any special abilities in comedy. I just, there was a lot, television comedies were at their prime at that time. And so I was, as a viewer, aware of them. And so it was in the zeitgeist that was happening, I was just aware of that. And I was like, ooh, that'd be fun. So I sat down and I went, if I was going to be on one of these shows, what would I want to do? What would I want it to be like? What would I want to be able to do? I was like, and it was purely from a spirit of playfulness and enjoyment of the blue sky. What would be fun? And I was like, I'd like to be able to whatever, animals and comedy and cute clothes and whatever my little dream was at the time of working with great people. But I have a very specific list. And it was on that show, I got to ride horses. I got to touch a bear. I got to work with Bob Dylan, play drums with Bob Dylan and T-Bone Burnett. I mean, I got to have so many fun experiences on that show. And I frankly had written it all out before I got that first series. So I think I did that work ahead of time, but it wasn't even that wasn't connected to mechanics. It was just joy.
Right.
And what do I want to do as an artist at this time? And what do I want to do personally as a human being in this world? What's my offering, And so that's how that came to be. I never looked at ratings. I didn't get into the business mechanics neuroses of it. I just created, and I had fun creating, and I didn't overthink. So I think people can get in their way when they overthink things. I think you have to be aware, but not overthink.
Right. And Bodhi, your husband, is also extremely successful, like in his own right. But I wonder, when you have a show like Dharma and Gregg that's so popular and so successful, does it create any weird dynamic? I mean, obviously you guys have, an amazing marriage, but is there any strangeness with that when one person's on this like hit show, or is it just constant support and everything's like all
I lucked
good?
out. I think he's just awesome. And I always hear from people, do you know how much he loves you? Do you know how much he digs you? Like, oh my God, your husband loves the hell out of you. I'm like, I know, he's so great. So I think, he was working in his own, he was on different series. And
sure.
And I don't know. I think the most important thing with Bodhi and I is just our friendship. Like, we just love hanging out together. We love doing the game of life together. So whatever form that takes, if someone's working, the other one's not working, doing the podcast, it's just the game of living that we just find really fun to do together. So there was never a big issue in our relationship. I don't know, maybe he had moments of being like, I think that's normal or natural, but it was never anything that was long lasting or a hindrance to our communication with each other.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, 30 years, that's, and
I know, it's amazing.
You said in interviews, like that's, like a million years in, Hollywood years. I mean, that's, you never hear of that unless it's like Will or Jada or something, but it's nuts.
I know.
I know, it's crazy. So after Dharma and Gregg ends, obviously you still have like a ton of sitcoms that you act on and star in afterwards. But I wonder, since it was like such a big hit, like was there any kind of like hangover afterwards? Did you kind of want to take a break for a little bit? Like, what was your mindset afterwards?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think I probably, it's hard. There's no manual to read for once you have extreme success. Here's what you do.
Right. Yeah. It's different for everyone.
Totally. Depending on their own goals and dreams and growth and shifts and industry, I am not naturally great being an unemployed person.
Yeah.
I like working, not just for economical reasons, but for morale reasons. I just love being busy creating. And so to have that job every day that I was going to and having so much fun on, to then have it end. And I think it caught me off guard, because it wasn't like, okay, guys, this is going to be your last season. Like, we did the season and we didn't know it was going to get canceled. So it was really anticlimactic in terms of closure.
Yeah.
And I think that probably was part of the thing that made me feel so weird afterwards. And I was just, what do I do now? Like, oh, we're not going back. Oh, it's over. Oh, yeah. Now what? So then I accepted some jobs that, I don't know. I think I do best when I'm clear on what I want to do. And when I know what I want to do creatively and where my headspace is at, everything goes into alignment. And I think I was a little bit thrown off that it had ended, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So then you don't have a compass.
Right.
So then you just kind of say yes to stuff because you're like, oh, okay. Which then kind of, I don't know, maybe it wasn't creatively or business navigation, like the greatest choices in the world in terms of that narrative. But I had to learn from that, and I had to go through it. And I think it was in my own space, not feeling totally clear on what I want to do next, or where am I at now? Who am I as an artist right now? What am I craving to communicate, and what zone of play do I want to be in? So it took me a bit of time. I had an agent go, just do nothing for a while. And I was like, what? After Dharma and Gregg, like, do nothing? Like, that just sounded like, just go die or something, because I like being productive. So it was a bit of like a second puberty
Yeah.
where I just felt like, and then, with some highs and lows and oh no, oh, okay, let's try again. Until I finally just made some changes and got clear on what I wanted to do. I allowed myself the time and space, and also had 2 kids, and, so I had to kind of reset as an artist and go, what truly, taking into consideration no life phenomena, nothing, just me. What is it that how do I want to express myself? In what sandbox do I want to play in to accomplish that? And I was like, I've had so many experiences in my life. I've lobbied in DC for social justice causes. I've raised 2 kids. I've done other, I've just done a lot. Had a lot of experiences. And I went, I want to express myself as a woman, not a girl. And I want to delve into the human condition. And I want to touch people and make them feel their own heart again. And remind people that they're a living, breathing soul that can live. Right. And I want to express myself as a woman and not fight against the fact that I'm in my 40s, but fucking embrace it and communicate from it and the beauty and the strength of that. And then 10 days later, I got offered Fear the Walking Dead.
Wow.
So, it's kind of like at the beginning of my career, I was clear. I got clear on my list of things, it was very in focus for me, what I wanted to do. And then I just set about the activities of accomplishing that. And so with this, I did the same thing. I just focused in on what it was I wanted to do.
Yeah. So you've said that right before Fear, you kind of put it out there that you did want to do maybe some more dramatic roles instead of sitcom. By that, do you mean like you asked your manager to like look for things like that, or was that just your headspace?
No, I definitely said, let's not think in terms of how we've been operating. And I was like, let's wipe the slate clean, because I think, and I actually then parted ways with my manager at the time. I loved him as a human being. He's a great guy. But, I think from a business standpoint, they can make their money with me doing a certain thing. And sometimes it's just, you can't make another person completely think different. You can or you can't.
Sure.
And I just felt we had been together so long, and the ship wasn't turning at the rate it needed to. But I don't think it was like particularly any fault of his own. I just think I went in to working with him in this sort of constructed universe of it being that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy to shift it, which I understand, because we're shifting into a vacuum kind of, not with anything that it existed in that way for me before. But I'm telling you, I ended our relationship. He said, are you going to see me, work with someone else? I said, no, I just need to get back in the dance studio and connect to myself as an artist. Like that's what's needed. And it was 10 days later.
Wow.
From that moment.
That's crazy. So I've heard you didn't actually have to audition. They just, like you said, offered it to you. You spoke with Scott Gimple, right?
Yeah. We did a little FaceTime, and they had offered it to me, and then they said, hop on the phone I was out of town at the time. And they said, well, you can hop on a Skype with Scott Gimple. He'll walk you through kind of what they're thinking with the character, the backstory. And I was like, okay. And then we talked, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. It was exactly the kind of character I wanted to lean into. And that she was a mother. I loved that, because I know that passion and that, and that she's a naturally caring person, as a nurse, as an ICU and trauma nurse. That is not for the weak of heart. And it's not for people who don't care about other people.
Right.
It's for people who are compassionate and caring and strong. And I thought, but yet she was so broken from the heartache and the loss. And I just liked the juxtaposition of that challenge. And it was perfect.
Wow. I wonder you were perfect for the role. Like, you are a really welcome addition to the cast. I wonder what Scott was like. Was he just thinking, he's like, who would be good for this? Like, Jenna? or was he
I
like
think it
a
came
big
from the
Dharma and
casting
Gregg?
director.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it came from the casting director as a suggestion,
Okay.
and then they agreed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So that must have been an interesting time because we have new showrunners and, you know, that season they killed off Kim Dickens' character, which was sad for a lot of fans. But so what was it like joining a show that was kind of getting rebooted in the middle of its run?
You know, I'd never had that experience before. I've never, ever.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, every show I had done was, except for 1600 Penn, which I was joining, but it was joining as a new cast member, but was created for me, you know? So to come into something that's an ensemble that's already flowing, but knowing it was being kind of reworked. I did know I had great admiration for the cast that was already in existence. I watched all the episodes. It's part of what made me want to do it. I respected all of their work, and I didn't know anyone was getting killed off when I took the job at all. I had no idea until my first day. I arrived at the airport, went in for wardrobe fitting and a meeting, and then that's when I found out that Kim was getting killed off. I was like, what? So I had no idea. So yeah, that was I just had never had that experience before. So it was a learning curve of going through everything as it was happening, you know, just in front of you. And they were going through a transition amongst themselves with new showrunners coming in, you know, a new location. I mean, it was a time of big change in that group, you know, so everyone had their own kind of like learning curve to go through and journey.
Right. There's still Madison truthers out there. Some fans think that, hey, I didn't see a body, you know, maybe there was a whole, I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that, or do you plead the fifth?
No, I don't plead anything other than what the showrunners have said, which
is she's dead.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they don't like tell us everything, you know, we're kind of like, we're begging to know too, on these many storylines on both shows, you know. That's just Scott Gimmel's the great muted fellow. So yeah, but they've been really good in terms of, before we start a season, to walk us through the character journey. They'll sit us down, the showrunners, and go, okay, so here's what's happening with your character. They'll tell us kind of for the first half. Yeah. And then before we come back for the second half, you know, they'll walk us through kind of the next set of beats so that we're oriented to the overall theme and journey, the theme of the show, the basic story, and the emotional arc of our character.
Got it. You and Garrett have fantastic chemistry. Did you know him before this?
No, I was aware of his work, of course, but I had never met him. I actually didn't even meet him before we filmed the Laura episode. I had walked by he was having a wardrobe fitting. And I was at the production office, and I walked by, like, as the door opened. He was like taking his shirt off right as like the costumer happened to open the door, and I was like, oh, hi. Hey. I knew he was on the show. I didn't even know I was going to have a relationship with him.
Oh, wow.
That actually was never part of my briefing. It was just, you were a nurse, you lost your child, you know, basic backstory in that way, but not the backstory of the love story until I got the script. So I hadn't met him, and I didn't know I was going to have a love story.
Yeah.
So
I'm not just saying this.
A great, happy surprise.
Yeah. I'm not just saying this because you're here, but that is definitely my favorite episode of the series. It's like its own self-contained movie. It was so sweet. The one where you guys meet and you leave at the end. It's just so charming. And the bit about putting the sheet, like, for privacy, that was based on one of your favorite movies, right?
Yeah. It happened one night.
Yeah.
I loved that. I was like, this is amazing. Are you guys, that's like one of my favorite movies.
So you told them that, or was that just a coincidence?
No, it was just a total, there's a lot of coincidence in this. Really? There's so much synchronicity and weird coincidence. I'll get a script. I'm like, how do they know that's my favorite color? Like, how do they know that's my favorite movie? Oh my God, that's one of my favorite bands. Wow. This is crazy. Yeah. It's fun that way. You know, because the mythology of this universe has kind of those fun things in it anyway. It's fun when your personal synchronicity is kind of in rhythm with the overall mythology. I find that kind of interesting. actually. They really connect into that somehow. I have no idea how.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if it's strange to be, because you play it so well, and, you know, you really are great at drama. You know, you bet on yourself and you won. I mean, you were fantastic at it. I'm wondering, like,
Thank
but
you.
is it weird to kind of be so serious when, like, the premise is so kind of like crazy? You know, there's like zombies around. So, you know, that's a silly, like, that's crazy, but you're still like managed to like find the humanity like in these scenes. Like, is that any different for you, or do you not think about it too much?
It was a bit of an adjustment. I
Yeah.
had to. I remember the first weekend before I started on my first day of the fourth season. I knew I could do drama. I mean, I did like the fifth season of Damages. Like before I ever did comedy, I was in acting. I did drama. It wasn't like, but I didn't do like a whole bunch of long dramatic plays or been on dramatic series before. And I had been doing comedy. So I had to, even though I knew I could, otherwise I wouldn't have accepted the job, but very vulnerably speaking, I had to sell myself to myself that I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember those few days before we started filming, I did not leave my hotel room for 4 days. And I just stayed in there and practiced. And because I had to connect for myself that like I could pull this off. And then I actually continued to gain more confidence just by the work and through the work. And I'm still constantly adjusting and watching it and observing and learning and like studying acting on our breaks and learning more about how to analyze story and understand this. Because, you know, I was talking to Lenny about this. Actually, we were just on the phone recently because I was like, Lenny, I want to get with you and see how you break down a script when you're working on it. And what is your approach? Because I admire him so much. And I love, you know, whenever we're on set, the way he'll express or chime in about a scene and his angle of view about his take on that scene is always so beautiful and insightful and knowledgeable and like the right angle that I would want to do if I had his mind. And I went, you know, I would love, I asked him if he would sit down with me when we go back and just kind of walk me through how he approaches, because there's also, with all the mythology, with zombies, with, you know, it's kind of like which moments as an actor are you gonna kind of, it's like an equalizing board, you know, and so which dials need to kind of go higher or not at any given time to serve the story, the mythology, and then times when you have to ignore all of that and just totally only play that moment as that human being at that time, and how to balance that. That's been a huge learning curve for me, because it's not just a procedural drama, or, you know, this is like a mythology dense, you know, show. So how to manage all of that as an actor and what parts I have to pay attention to and what parts I don't. It's been a learning curve, but I really enjoy it.
Wow. Interesting. Did you put have you put like more effort into like preparing for this role, you know, versus like a sitcom, or is it like the same amount of effort, but it's like just like different things you focus on? Cause you know, with comedy, you have to get timing right and everything, which you're great at. Like I guess, what is the preparation differences between comedy and drama?
I put a lot more time on this.
Yeah.
A lot. I think comedy is, and my timing is, I put a lot into that too. But you don't have to analyze, especially in a sitcom. It's not, I don't know, the story analysis is not so deep in terms of what you have to track on the emotional changes. It's not like, how am I different at the end of this scene? How have I caused change in another at the end of this scene? So, you know, it's like, and timing, I don't think about. I know my timing. I know how to do comedy. It's like in me. I don't know. I never, ever, when I'm doing comedy, am I like, where's the funny? Where's the funny line? Ever. I don't think that as an actor doing comedy, you should ever be aware of a punchline or hit a punchline, because then the audience sees the actor hitting a punchline. So you're doing the work for them, and then they don't get to do anything. They're like being told it's the punchline. instead of being in the moment and finding the absurdity and staying true to believing in that moment. And then the audience is like, oh my God. And then they're laughing.
Right.
So I assume there's a tremendous amount of navigation in comedy. I think it's in me so much. It's not something I think about. But with acting on this show, I find I need to do a lot of preparation, a lot. And I love doing it. And I want to do it because I'm so damn grateful to be on this show. I want to just do everything I can to contribute to it, to do a great job, to connect with the fans, to move the fans, to engage them on this journey. But yeah, I just care a lot and I don't take it for granted. And I don't assume it's just going to be there for me at all times. And I want to do everything I can to contribute because it's really contributed to me. And I like exchanging contribution.
I think that definitely shows. And I think it's been a treat for fans of yours to see you in such a dramatic role. And you probably have seen that when when we had conventions and stuff, if that ever comes back, but I'm sure you get that feedback from fans, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're so sweet and sincere, and I love them. I love them. That's been a huge, refreshing part of this, which is the sincerity of the fans and that it's a fandom. In comedy, you have fans. I have a lot of fans that love Dharma and Gregg, and so I'll be in the market, and they're like, "Oh, Dharma, I love you!" And it's just really joyful, and we're But with this show, they're so invested in the story and they've committed to the characters they relate to. And it's just investment. They are invested and I'm invested. And so I appreciate it. And I love talking about the show. I love talking about the character of all the show. I love Walking Dead. I'm very excited for World Beyond. I'm excited that the stories it feels connected as a universe. I think that's been really cool. I think that bringing Morgan over in that way has been really exciting because it feels like it's part of the same DNA. And I think that's actually a good thing.
And Austin, he was a great addition.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I love Dwight's journey. Oh, it's been so good. I'm so excited for him this season, what he's going to get to do.
Yeah, we saw a picture of him and Sherry, so I know you can't say much, but I'm excited. The fans are wondering, I know you can't divulge too much, but what kind of like tone is season 6? Because season 5, dark? Okay.
Dark. It's so dark.
Really? Dark as in sad or dark as in evil?
All of it. Because you have all of these characters being separated and are being run by Virginia and her goals and not a lot of self-determinism on our part. We've saw what happens to people when they try to leave. So what that separation and being under the pressure of Virginia does to each of us in our own way, and what is being run on us, what kind of experiences we're being forced to have. We're not, you have these strong characters it's been established how capable they are.
Sure.
And so, they're allowed to do what Virginia wants them to do. Luckily, June's abilities in nursing are valuable to Virginia. So, and it's the one area that when June is staying true to her offering in the world, it keeps her sane and grounded, and she knows she can help. Right. Even if Virginia's there, someone right in front of June that June's tending to needs June, and June can help them. So regardless of the pressures or what messed up stuff is going on, June can at least help the person in front of her at any given time. And I think that keeps her somewhat sane, or in a area or aspect of some self-determinism, But there's some messed up stuff going on, and it affects each person in a way that taps into their vulnerability, and they change. People will be changing this season.
That's exciting. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I've heard that season 5 was kind of the setup for, the sort of payoff of season 6. So I hope that's true.
Yeah.
They've also
to use a dance thing, it's like the plie before the
Oh, okay. Got
the
it.
jump.
That's really exciting. They've talked about it being an anthology sort of style where, you know, some episodes are just going to be a few characters specific. Is that true? Is that how it's going to go? Is there a way to explain that?
It is going to go that way. I think, you know, that episode Laura with Garrett and I was so successful to be able to hone in on two characters and really dig into the nuances of their character and their relationships. Mm-hmm. And how coming in contact with each other changes you. That is how this season is going. It's definitely formed in that way. So, and you really get to dig in on how all of these splits and the influence of what Virginia has set up is affecting how it's affecting each of these characters in a very intimate way by doing it anthology wise. Gotcha.
I know. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I know you haven't finished the first half yet, but have you gotten the scripts for the second half? Because they've had all the time in the world to write it. Oh my gosh, this fell out.
I think they're written.
Oh yeah.
I think they're written. But we haven't received them yet. Okay. But I've been talked through them. You know, they've told me what's happening. So I know what's happening, but I don't know all the nuances of everything that's happening to all the characters. I don't know all of that.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Well,
yes.
And until you go back to filming, you said you and your husband have been really busy. What else do you have going on?
Just, you know, there's things in progress that aren't worth publicly talking about just yet.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
You know that stuff that you can't really talk about until it's ready to talk about.
Well, that's exciting. I don't know what that means, but great. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have people wildly speculate. Fantastic.
You know, there's scheduling and unknowns and all of that kind of stuff. And you know, it's like, it's too much to even know about yet. We'll see.
Wow. That's crazy.
But I'm just excited to be back on Fear. Oh, I just cannot wait to get back to it. I just cannot wait. I know it's going to be different. I know it's going to be a completely different set life experience. And I will do anything it takes. I'm so excited to get back to it. I feel like we've all been void of Walking Dead story. It's like time to get back to it.
Yeah, for me, I thought I had the whole year. It was going to be all Walking Dead back to back to back to back. And now we've been, you know, I'm just having to make memes and stuff to just keep people entertained. It sucks.
I know.
But
think about how great it's going to be once everything starts back. Oh my God, we're all going to be just so extra hungry for this stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, you must be excited. The Dodgers are back. So at least you have that.
I'm so excited and tripped out by it at the same time. I was saying in my live yesterday, I was like, it's so weird that they pipe in the fan, like as if the stadium's full of people, the murmur.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like it because it makes me feel a little less weird about the whole thing.
It's eerie. NBA has figured it out because they can like just zoom in on the court and it looks fine. But anytime someone hits a home run or literally anything, you just see empty fans and it's so sad.
Just the ball like lands and bounces on empty bleachers.
Do they have the cardboard? Do they have the cardboard cutouts for the Dodgers? Because I know some teams were doing that.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Are you going to make one?
Cutouts. I know. I found out that you can actually like buy it and do that. But I don't know. There's not that many games left, so I don't think I'll bother. But you know, my husband said I haven't personally watched the basketball phenomena yet, but Bodie said it weirds him out because it's the way they're playing in these like little spaces. It just feels like high school basketball or something, like you're in the like high school gymnasium or something a little odd and kind of claustrophobic, but I haven't seen it myself.
For sure. All right. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it. It's been so lovely to have you, and hopefully we can talk again, maybe when the season's happening and talk about what's happening. I just can't wait to see it, honestly. So
I know. It's dark.
I've seen some dailies and the cinematography looks insane. Okay. It's very dark. Okay. Now I'm scared. Oh my God.
It's dark.
Great. Well, thank you again so much for talking to me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, and hang in there, everybody. Stay safe.
Stay safe. See ya. Bye.
All right. Ciao.
You know, I've been a fan of Jenna's for a while, so it was such a treat to talk to her, and hopefully we have her in the future after we've seen this dark 6th season of Fear the Walking Dead. Next week, we are going to be talking with Lindsley Register. She played Laura on The Walking Dead. She was one of the saviors that turned good, that turned to getting thrown into a jail cell by Beta. But, you know, we're going to cover all that, and I'm really excited for it. In the meantime, I'm going to take a much-needed vacation to Palm Springs with my friends and my French Bulldog Goku. So until then, I will see you next time. As always, happy birthday to Nate.